Breaking news shook the galaxy to its core. Humans were permanently banned from the Galactic War, labeled too vicious and ruthless to participate. But this story went deeper than anyone realized. Stephen Turner, a grizzled human mercenary, slammed down his drink and scowled at the Trivision. Every major Galactic news channel blared the headline, "Human savagery leads to permanent ban from Voxari-Zigran conflict." The reporters nattered about human war crimes and brutality, but Stephen smelled bullshit. "There's more to this," he growled, motioning to the oily bartender for another Zorbatron ale. As he downed the luminescent green liquid, a shadowy figure slid onto the stool beside him. It was Xanth, his Voxari informant. The alien's bulbous eyes darted around the seedy bar before he leaned in close. "This ban, it's a smokescreen," Xanth hissed, his breath reeking of ammonia. "The Voxari have been working on something involving human test subjects. That's the real reason you've been barred from the war." Stephen's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" "Experiments, Turner, on your people. In some black site lab on Vox Prime," Xanth whispered urgently. "We need to infiltrate the facility, grab the evidence, expose the truth, but it's a suicide mission." Stephen clenched his jaw. His soldier's instincts screamed at him to walk away, forget he'd heard anything. Being a merc was risky enough without pissing off the Voxari government, especially now with the ban killing his business. But if the Vox were experimenting on humans, using them as lab rats, he couldn't let that stand. Blood pounded in his ears as he thought of his fellow humans suffering unimaginable horrors in an alien torture chamber. "I'm in," Stephen ground out. "Whatever it takes, let's nail these Voxari bastards to the wall." As they roared off the space station in a stealthed combat shuttle, Stephen interrogated Xanth. He needed intel on what kind of hellish experiments could justify banning humans from the war. The Voxari shifted uncomfortably in his crash webbing. "Rumors mainly, but from reliable sources. Word is the Vox cooked up some super soldier serum, injects Voxari troops with human aggression, bloodlust, killer instinct. Turns them into monsters on the battlefield." Stephen digested that, a lead ball of dread sinking into his gut. If the Voxari were trying to weaponize the human capacity for violence, it could shift the tide of the whole war. And his people were being tortured, dissected to make it happen. He'd burn the galaxy down before he let that stand. Determination hardening his features, Stephen checked the charge on his pulse rifle as Xanth transmitted fake security clearance codes. They were one light-speed jump away from Vox Prime and the most dangerous infiltration of Stephen's life. The secrets they uncovered could shake the foundations of the galaxy. If they even survived. As the stealthed combat shuttle hurtled through hyperspace, Stephen and Xanth huddled around the flickering holodisplay, poring over the stolen Voxari research data. The files laid bare the Voxari's sinister machinations, each revelation more horrifying than the last. "Those sick bastards!" Stephen snarled, his eyes blazing with fury as he read the technical specs. "They're playing God, splicing human DNA into their own soldiers to create some kind of super soldier army." Xanth nodded grimly, his bulbous eyes reflecting the sickly glow of the display. "The serums are derived from the genetic material of captive humans. It grants the Voxari troops enhanced strength, lightning-fast reflexes, and a killer instinct that rivals even the most battle-hardened human warriors." Stephen hit his fist against the bulkhead, the metal denting under the force of his rage. "And the ban on humans in the war? Just a fucking smokescreen to keep us in the dark while they dissect our people." "Precisely," Xanth agreed, his voice tinged with disgust. "The Voxari knew that if humans ever discovered this unethical experimentation, it would unite your entire species against them. The galaxy would tremble before the wrath of a vengeful humanity." Stephen's expression resolute, a vein throbbing in his temple. "We need to stop this, Xanth. We have to save those captives and blow the lid off this whole fucking conspiracy." Xanth tapped a few keys on the display, bringing up a star map. "Our best chance is to bring this evidence before the Galactic Council. If we can expose the Voxari's crimes on a galactic stage, it will rally the other races to our cause. Stephen nodded, his willpower hardening like a steel blade. Then that's exactly what we'll do. Let's rendezvous with our council contact and... A blaring proximity alert cut him off mid-sentence. Stephen lunged for the pilot's chair, his hands flying over the controls as he brought up the sensor readouts. Shit! It's a trap! He yelled over the wailing alarms. We've got a whole fucking Voxari ambush fleet bearing down on us, led by that sadistic prick Admiral Zorgax himself. Xanth's eyes widened in horror. They must have been tipped off about our mission. We need to transmit the research data to our allies before... The ship shuddered violently as the first salvo of plasma fire slammed into their shields. Stephen wrenched the controls, sending the nimble craft into a dizzying spiral to evade the incoming barrage. "Get on those transmissions, Xanth!" Stephen barked, his fingers dancing across the weapon controls. "I'll keep these bastards off our backs." What followed was a deadly dance of destruction, a fierce space battle that lit up the void with the fire of 1,000 suns. Stephen pushed the ship to its limits, drawing upon every ounce of his human piloting prowess to outmaneuver the attacking Voxari vessels. The advanced weaponry of their craft scythed through the enemy formation, leaving shattered hulks and blooming fireballs in its wake. But even Stephen's skill couldn't hold off the relentless onslaught forever. Warning lights flashed across the console as their shields buckled under the sustained bombardment. Zorgax's flagship loomed before them, its massive guns swiveling to deliver the killing blow. Just as all hope seemed lost, a miracle arrived in the form of a massive human battle fleet, dropping out of hyperspace with guns blazing. The unexpected reinforcements unleashed a devastating barrage on the Voxari forces, catching them off guard and turning the tide of the battle. Stephen let out a whoop of joy as the comm crackled to life, the grizzled visage of Admiral Grayson filling the screen. "Turner, you magnificent bastard!" Grayson bellowed, a fierce grin splitting his battle-scarred face. "Xanth sent word of your mission. The Galactic Council has the evidence now, and the whole damn galaxy knows the truth about the Voxari's sick experiments." Stephen sagged back in his chair, relief washing over him like a cleansing wave. "Thank you, Admiral. We couldn't have done it without—" "Save the thanks for later, son." Grayson cut him off, his expression turning grave. "This fight is nowhere near the end. I need you and Xanth on my flagship, pronto. We've got a war council to attend and a species to save." As Stephen watched Zorgax's fleet flee in disarray, the weight of his mission settled upon his shoulders like a mantle of destiny. What had begun as a quest for truth had now evolved into a battle for the very survival of the human race. And Stephen Turner would be damned if he let his people down. The shuttle docked with Admiral Grayson's flagship, its hull still smoking from the recent battle. Stephen and Xanth stumbled out, exhausted but triumphant. A squad of Marines escorted them through gleaming corridors to the war room. Admiral Grayson stood at the head of a massive holotable, his craggy face grim as he studied tactical displays. He looked up as Stephen and Xanth entered. "Turner, glad you made it," Grayson growled. "Now let's figure out how to stick it to these Voxari bastards." For the next hour, they pored over intelligence reports and strategic assessments. The Voxari had hidden labs scattered across dozens of systems, each one a potential torture chamber for human test subjects. "A frontal assault is out," Stephen said, pointing at a holomap. "We'd get our own people killed in the crossfire." Xanth's bulbous eyes narrowed as he studied the displays. "What about their central production facility? If we could infiltrate it, we might be able to shut down the whole operation." Grayson nodded slowly. "It's risky as hell, but it might be our best shot. Turner, think you're up for leading a strike team?" Stephen's teeth clenched. "Ready and willing, sir." "Good man. I'm assigning you our top covert ops squad. Xanth, you'll provide tactical support." They spent the next few days planning the operation in meticulous detail. Finally, under cover of darkness, 3 stealth shuttles slipped past the Voxari defense grid. Stephen's pulse pounded as their craft touched down outside the cloning facility. He signaled to his team and they moved out, weapons at the ready. The first Voxari guards never saw them coming. Silenced shots dropped alien sentries before they could raise the alarm. Stephen's team advanced swiftly through sterile corridors, neutralizing resistance with ruthless efficiency. They reached the main lab and burst in, weapons trained on the stunned Voxari scientists. "Nobody move," Stephen barked. "Hands where we can see them." One of the aliens reached for an alarm panel. A human commando shot took his arm off at the elbow. "Next one goes through your head," Stephen snarled. "Now, you're going to give us everything we need to know about this serum. Start talking." The terrified scientists complied, babbling out technical details as Stephen's team downloaded data and secured samples. Just as they finished, alarms began blaring. "Incoming!" a commando shouted. "Multiple hostiles!" The lab doors exploded inward as Voxari shock troops poured in, led by a hulking cyborg. Stephen's team dove for cover as plasma bolts filled the air. "Fall back!" Stephen roared over the din. "Covering fire!" They retreated step by step, leaving a trail of Voxari bodies, but more kept coming. Stephen realized with grim certainty that they wouldn't all make it out. He grabbed a bandolier of Voxari plasma grenades from a dead trooper. "Get to the shuttle," he shouted to his team. "I'll buy you some time." Before anyone could stop him, Stephen charged straight at the oncoming Voxari, grenades in hand. He lobbed them in a deadly arc, the explosion sending aliens flying. A plasma bolt caught him in the side. Stephen stumbled but kept moving, priming more grenades. With the last of his strength, he hurled them into the serum vats. The world turned white as Stephen felt himself being dragged away. Consciousness faded, but not before he heard Xanth's voice. "We did it, Stephen. We got the data. Now let's get you home." As their battered shuttle punched through the planet's defenses, Stephen managed a satisfied smile before the darkness took him. Stephen's body ached as he sat up in the medbay, the bandages on his side a reminder of his narrow escape. A nurse approached, her face grim. "Admiral Grayson requests your presence in the war room immediately." Gritting his teeth against the pain, Stephen pushed himself to his feet. "Duty calls." He limped through the corridors of the flagship, crew members nodding respectfully as he passed. The war room doors hissed open, revealing a tense scene. Admiral Grayson stood at the head of a hollow table, his weathered face illuminated by swirling data projections. "Turner, glad you could join us," Grayson said, his voice grave. "We've decoded the data you extracted. It's worse than we thought." Xanth's bulbous eyes met Stephen's from across the table. The alien's usual calm demeanor was shaken. "The serum," Xanth began, his voice trembling slightly. "It's not just about creating super soldiers. The Voxari plan to use it on their entire population." Stephen's blood ran cold. "What?" Grayson tapped a command, bringing up complex DNA strands. "They're trying to rewrite their very genetic code, Turner, using human DNA to turn themselves into a race of conquerors." The implications hit Stephen like a punch to the gut. He steadied himself against the table. "Those peaceful eggheads want to become us?" "Our darkest aspects amplified," Xanth clarified. "All of humanity's capacity for violence and domination, with none of the temperance." Stephen's mind raced. The ban on humans in the war, it wasn't just to keep us in the dark. They were eliminating the competition. Grayson nodded grimly. "If they succeed, we'll be facing an unstoppable enemy. The entire galaxy could fall." The war room erupted into frantic strategizing. Tactical overlays of Voxari space filled the air as Grayson barked orders. "We strike now before they can distribute the serum. All ships prepare for light speed jump to these coordinates." Stephen watched as the vast human armada winked out of existence, only to reappear deep in enemy territory. The battle that unfolded on the tactical displays was brutal, human ships clashing with Voxari defenders. "It's not enough," Stephen realized. "We need to hit them at the source." He locked eyes with Grayson. "I'll lead a team to infiltrate their capital, take out the primary serum facility from the inside." Xanth stepped forward. "The defenses on Vox Prime will be unlike anything we've faced. It's a suicide mission." Stephen's eyes hardened. Then we better not fail. Hours later, Stephen found himself at the helm of a stripped-down stealth ship racing toward the Voxari homeworld. His hand-picked team of operatives checked their gear one final time. 30 seconds to contact, Xanth called out from the co-pilot's seat. The peaceful-looking world of Vox Prime filled their view screen, belying the danger that awaited them. Suddenly, space lit up with weapons fire as they slammed into the planetary defenses. "Hang on!" Stephen yelled, throwing the ship into a wild corkscrew. Anti-aircraft fire blazed past them, the hull shuddering with near misses. They punched through the atmosphere in a ball of flame, alarms blaring as systems failed. Stephen wrestled with the controls, bringing them down hard in the outskirts of the gleaming Voxari capital. "Move, move, move!" Stephen shouted as they piled out of the smoking wreck. They sprinted through eerily empty streets, making for the coordinates of the underground serum facility. The team fought their way down through layer after layer of security, facing off against cybernetically enhanced Voxari guards. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Stephen's operatives returned fire, leaving a trail of alien bodies in their wake. Finally, they reached the heart of the complex. The central data core hummed ominously, surrounded by vats of sickly green liquid. "Plant the charges," Stephen ordered as he jacked into a nearby terminal. His fingers flew over the keys, uploading a vicious worm that would transmit the location of every serum distribution center to the human fleet. Just as the upload completed, klaxons began to wail. "We've got company!" one of his operatives shouted. Stephen spun to see elite Voxari troops pouring into the chamber, led by a towering figure he recognized all too well, Admiral Zorgax. "Xanth, get that detonator ready," Stephen called out. "The rest of you, with me. We're getting that data out if it's the last thing we do." Plasma fire filled the air as Stephen and his team began their desperate push to escape the facility. The ground shook with the first explosions as Xanth triggered the charges, buying them precious seconds. They fought their way to the surface, emerging into chaos. The sky above was filled with battling ships, human vessels trading fire with Voxari defenders. Stephen allowed himself a grim smile as he watched a Voxari dreadnought erupt into flames. The tide was turning. But he knew the real fight was just beginning. As long as the serum existed, the entire galaxy was at risk. Stephen tightened his grip on his weapon, ready for whatever came next. The acrid stench of burnt circuitry filled Stephen's nostrils as he piloted his battered shuttle through the debris field. Twisted hulks of Voxari and human ships alike drifted silently in the void, a grim testament to the ferocity of the battle. "Turner, come in." Admiral Grayson's voice crackled over the comm. "Do you copy?" Stephen coughed, his lungs burning from the smoke-filled air. "I read you, Admiral. Mission accomplished, but—" He couldn't finish the sentence. The image of Xanth's resolute face as the vault door slammed shut burned in his mind. "Understood, son. Get your ass back to the fleet. We've got a situation." Minutes later, Stephen stumbled onto the bridge of Grayson's flagship. The Admiral's weathered face was grim as he studied the tactical displays. "Good work on Vox Prime," Grayson said, his voice gruff. "That data you sent allowed us to hit their distribution centers hard, but the bastards had an ace up their sleeve." He tapped a control, and the main view screen lit up with a terrifying sight. A massive Voxari armada poured out of an uncharted nebula, dwarfing the human fleet. "Dear God," Stephen breathed. "How did we miss that?" Before Grayson could answer, the comm officer shouted, "Incoming transmission!" The screen flickered, revealing the scarred visage of Admiral Zorgax. The Voxari's eyes gleamed with malevolent triumph. "Humans," Zorgax sneered. "Your pitiful resistance ends now. Surrender immediately, or I will unleash a weapon that will transform every Voxari into an unstoppable hybrid species. Your genetic gifts will be our ascension." The transmission cut off. Stephen's mind raced. "Admiral, we can't let that happen. If they deploy that serum—" "I know," Grayson cut him off. "We need a plan, and fast." Stephen's eyes locked with Xanth's. The alien nodded, understanding passing between them without words. Sir, Stephen said, we have a counter-agent. If we can get it aboard Zorgax's ship. It's suicide, Grayson growled. It's our only shot, Stephen countered. Grayson studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Do it. What followed was a blur of frantic preparation. Stephen and Xanth crammed into a heavily modified stealth fighter, its hull reinforced with experimental armor plating. All systems go, Xanth reported, his fingers dancing over the controls. Stephen took a deep breath. Let's finish this. They rocketed out of the launch bay, streaking towards Zorgax's massive dreadnought. Anti-aircraft fire lit up space around them as they weaved through the chaos of battle. Hang on! Stephen shouted as he pushed the fighter into a wild spin. They skimmed the dreadnought's hull, searching for a weak point. There, Xanth called out. Maintenance hatch, port side. Stephen brought them in hard, the fighter's nose crumpling as they smashed through the hatch. Alarms blared as they tumbled into a cargo bay. Move! Stephen yelled, grabbing the canister of counter-agent and sprinting for the exit. Xanth was right behind him, laying down covering fire as Voxari troops poured into the bay. They fought their way through twisting corridors, the ship's layout a maze of alien architecture. Plasma bolts sizzled past them, leaving scorch marks on the walls. We're close, Xanth shouted, consulting a holomap. The main serum vault should be just ahead. They rounded a corner and skidded to a halt. The vault door loomed before them, impossibly large and heavily armored. We made it, Stephen breathed. But as he reached for the control panel, a chilling laugh echoed through the chamber. Admiral Zorgax stepped out of the shadows, flanked by cybernetically enhanced guards. Fools, Zorgax sneered. Did you really think it would be that easy? Stephen's heart sank as he realized they had walked right into a trap. The true nature of Zorgax's plan began to unfold before them, more horrifying than they could have imagined.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.